Did you see what went on with Doctor Who this weekend?
I saw that they had another episode that came out, and I've heard that it's generally hated.
Basically, what happens in the episode is that the villain is like a right-wing podcaster who's a straight white male. The only one you'll see there. It starts off that he seems like a good guy, but then in the twist, he's the big villain. And to say that it goes off the rails is an understatement. What happens at the end is, beyond the fact that they have to put this right-wing podcaster in his place, show the world that he tells lies and stuff like that, there's a weird scene at the end where Ncuti Gatwa lectures him in a way that feels like they're just lecturing to you off screen. You're not immersed in the Doctor's world anymore. This is just Ncuti Gatwa lecturing this person that's playing a right-wing podcaster, and he's like, people want to feel loved and safe, and you sit around here and you ruin everything. And it's as if Russell T Davies is so bitter at this point that all he's doing is making episodes to explain how bitter he is. There was one episode that the straight white male was a gamer, so the twist was that he's the villain, and he uses the same twist over again. And at this point, nobody involved in this show is trying to entertain anybody. This is Russell T Davies having a creative meltdown because he wanted to come in here and show people how he makes the show woke, and he thought that everybody would be singing his praises. But it doesn't work that way. The fact that years ago you did something good and maybe you had goodwill of the fans, if you're just going to go in and take a dump on them, they're not going to like you. I don't understand all these weirdos that they just do this every time, and then they're like, oh, we can't believe this is happening. Believe it. That's what happens when you take a dump on the very people that you owe your career to. The reason this guy has this illustrious career, because that's what put him on the map. And instead of going back and treating the fans with respect, he wants to give them the middle finger every second. I mean, man, talk about going from being the hero, showrunner, to the biggest zero on the face of the earth. Enough having meltdowns about YouTubers and stuff. Nobody's obligated to like your show. I've noticed that when something is good and people get excited over it, you'll see a lot of things like all across YouTube falling into place. And I think that when Russell T Davies was given the reins again, and he said he's returning to the show, people had really hoped that he would do something good. Everybody was cautious because of this era of wokeness, but really, really hoped that because in the past he knew how to deliver good Doctor Who, that he could do it again. And even I was willing to give him a chance. So whatever goodwill he had, he spent it, and he ended up being just the biggest asshole, tarnishing his legacy. He will never be looked at the same way.
Yep. You can't even go back and look at the stuff that he made before.
I'll still watch Classic Who.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You can't touch Tom Baker era, you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
At least
it's fantastic.
They haven't ruined Tom Baker for me.
No, not at all. Some of the recent stuff has ruined the 10th Doctor for me, though.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I want to go back and watch some of the, earlier seasons, and then I see Tenet there, and I'm like, I can't even watch. Like, you're awful. I want nothing to do with you anymore. There were so many good stories that were told, and they even tried to screw one of them up recently with one of these awful shooty episodes with Midnight, right? Midnight, such a fantastic thriller episode, and they try and screw that up by trying to create a sequel to it. It's terrible.
By the way, I want to show you what the guy looked like. Are you ready?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This was the podcaster they were going for in the show.
Yeah. Look how villainous he is. So white and male. He's so evil.
And the thing is like they couldn't help themselves. At the beginning, he's like super nice and like, seems likable, and he gets into a relationship with Ruby, and they kind of like each other and all this stuff. And then there's just a moment, and it doesn't even make sense if you think about it. There's so much suspension and disbelief. Russell T Davies, he'll write the dumbest ideas that don't even make sense just so he can get his agenda across, which is a shame because he didn't used to be that way. I'm supposed to believe that this guy, his whole life, built this kind of impression that he's like a nice guy doing a podcast, and then one day it turned out that he was the biggest villain in the world just so he can like screw over Ruby Sunday. It was so stupid. Man, was it dumb. I would say there was a positive thing in this episode that you barely saw Ncuti Gatwa and Belinda in it, which was good.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. But